Faster Pussycat Kill Kill from Josie Cotton on Revenge of the 80s Radio. It's from her recently re-released album Invasion of the B-Girls. Josie, as you know, is a huge B-movie fan. She's been on the show quite a few times and is back with us now. Welcome back, Josie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we could start a TV show instead of Welcome Back, Cutter. It could be Welcome Back, Josie.
And this is the day of the release. This is, you've timed it well.
Right, we're taping on May 1st, the day of the release. This has been a busy last couple of years for you, hasn't it, Josie?
Well, 2019 for sure, and then, yeah, I guess so. The last 2 years, it's been fantastic.
It started with Ukrainian Cowboy and went on from there.
Yeah.
This is the re-release of the Invasion of the B-Girls album, originally put out in 2007. If you all listening want to hear our past conversations with Josie, including the one with the original release, you can find them on the website revengeofthe80sradio.com and our YouTube channel. Let's get to the re-release, Josie. You added to this a new track, the title track of Female Trouble, the John Waters film.
That's right. That was the song we had originally made for the record, and then there was a problem with John Waters wanting to save the song. Although he loved it, he told me he wanted to save the song for his Divine compilation that he had planned, and so that never turned out. And when we were doing the re-release and planning it, I just thought it would be so great to have this song that's just been sitting there, this wonderful song from that disturbing movie. Just perfect, thing to add on. That's what we're trying to do with all of them.
And he's quite a fan of yours, too, and said some very nice things about you several times, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be bad. You don't want him as your enemy. I would think it would be it would be an ironic, nightmare of really great comments slinging your way. But yeah, he's just a grand human and just a genius, a comic, really cultural genius. And so I'm hoping he really he likes the whole revamping of it. We did all new artwork and remastered it and just tried to make it fresh.
And anybody who has seen your Man-Eaters video will know they won't want to make an enemy out of you either.
We had planned and had already gotten the video ready to go to do another video for Female Trouble, and then the whole quarantine happened, so it really interrupted our plans of doing that. I'm sure you hear that all the time now, but that would have been a great double header of the videos from this record. But Man-Eaters it really holds up. The thing about this record that I don't mind releasing it so much later is the movies are timeless, they're classic, and so are the songs, and there's no way to date this. It's already suspended in animation, like forever.
One more thing about Female Trouble, Josie. I love a horn-heavy track, and this one had Tower of Power's horn section.
Yes, it did. I don't think any of them are still alive. This was recorded quite a while ago, but yeah, they came to actually the studio where I was living. It was the studio in my house with Geza X. We were recording it, and they came into our little studio, and it was amazing. The musicianship from those guys was insane. I mean, they just nailed it so quickly, and they had wrote out all the charts too before they even came, and it was just fast and furious.
You had a number of excellent guest musicians on the album Invasion of the B-Girls, Josie. With all the musical minds around, was it kind of like when you told me Brian Setzer and Malcolm McLaren were in the studio watching you record in the 80s? Did they also try to give you career advice, or did they just let Josie do the Josie things?
Yeah. They barely talked. They were all about the business of coming in and just laying it down and leaving. They were just super serious musicians. They were like pros, like on every single level. So that was It was amazing.
Josie Cotton is with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio. The artwork's new too, Josie. The original version of Invasion of the B-Girls, it featured you with a Japanese-style wig and a green background. This one's more dynamic. It's kind of like a mixture of B-movies all in one art rendering.
Yeah, we were trying to capture the insanity of this record, which I never thought the artwork quite reached the level of a B-movie poster, which is what I really wanted in my secret heart of hearts. And so my bass player, actually, Cherish Alexander, is a phenomenal web designer and artist, and I just said, can you do a album cover, a CD cover? And she was very excited, and we just sat and we're just laughing at all the images that we were able to find, free images actually, and then we just made so many different versions of it, and this turned out to be kind of an element of each of the movies. I think is in there somewhere.
Yeah, you have Godzilla, the screaming woman, the UFOs, the dancing women, the car.
Flying saucers.
And you holding this giant, blood-filled hypodermic needle.
That's right.
That's the scariest image of all of them.
Well, that's the movie that did not have a theme song. The original movie that this album is named after was the Invasion of the Bee Girls. They were women scientists who were actually bees who killed men during sex for their blood. And I just thought that was the best plot line I'd ever heard, and so I borrowed it as an homage. And also, there were so many really powerful, strange women in these movies, these B movies. I kind of decided to call them B girls. Most of them have female leads or consequences, and so that was my little homage to that movie. Which was just hilarious. And I found out later that B-Girls actually has so many different meanings. There's a lot of different versions of people using B-Girls. I didn't know it at the time, so I didn't consciously steal anything. I just want everyone to know that was. I thought I was reinventing it anew, but no.
Well, this is a different concept. Recording great music from, a lot of people will say bad movies, but some of them might have been ahead of their time. We'll get into that a little bit later, though. I'm talking with Josie Cotton. We're discussing the re-release of her 2007 album, Invasion of the B-Girls. Before you recorded the album originally, we're going back to the version released in 2007, and this wasn't long after you created movie disaster music. What gave you the idea to record an album of all B-movie music?
Well, I had actually recorded this before. This was just the time we chose to put it out because it was literally sitting in my garage for a long time, and it had been rejected by Rhino Records as too quirky, which in the 90s that was rather humorous because they were the most quirky label on the planet. So I thought if it's too quirky for Rhino, then I don't know who's going to understand this. So I just sat and but basically the idea came from just years and my whole lifetime of watching and loving science fiction movies and later on B movies and never really the really hardcore horror movies, although some but the exploitation movies and all that came late as an adult. But I was just watching one of the movies I'd seen so many times, and the three-headed Ghidra, the three-headed monster, and there's the most beautiful song in there, and this really disturbing moment, and it's so funny and so beautiful and sad and weird. Like it's just everything you can imagine in one moment. And I thought that what a fantastic thing to make an homage to all these movies I'd loved my whole life. And it turns out no one had ever done it before. It was shocking to me. Every time we went to a publisher and we were having so much time tracking down who'd written these songs, and like Black Klansman, for instance, no one would admit to having written it.
That was a better movie than a lot of people said, Josie. If you look back at that movie, there was something called Black Klansman done recently. It's not the same, though.
No.
The story's not the same.
I mean, I think it's based on the same idea, but it wasn't made as a B movie or anything campy. That's
It's a good
kind of what makes
story.
it. Yeah, it's a true story, and and the director was a famous like activist and civil rights protester and whatnot. He did it. He just didn't understand that it was just hilarious, and the song was fantastic. I've never gotten to sing a song like that, and in fact, every song I got to explore all these different uh, multiple personalities I didn't know I had going on, and it was great to just to be able to completely escape out of all the preconceived notions that being an '80s artist goes hand in hand with.
Yeah, and you got to do the upbeat tracks and the lovely ballads like Who Killed Teddy Bear?
That's one of my favorite ones. That was actually the one that replaced Female Trouble because when I was told that it's not a good time to put Female Trouble on this record, I had to find another song really quickly, and I found this song, and we recorded it very fast. I had already mastered the whole record and everything, so this was and done all the artwork, and it was like, okay, let's start over. But I thought that turned out really great.
And the beyond, and the Beyond the Valley of the Dolls track, it's really beautiful. It really doesn't, but it doesn't tell you what's happening
I
in the movie. I'll
know.
tell you that. It makes you think it's a movie about nice dolls that are at somebody's house, collectibles, but no, it's the exact opposite of what the song brings. That's also what's so great about these tracks.
Yeah, that's what's so, and that song in particular, I just thought it was one of the most beautiful songs, and musically really complex. My musicians who would come in and play these things, uh, some of these songs, that one in particular, they were just going, "My God, how many chords can you put in one song?" and uh, and so that was really wonderful. But yeah, it's a beautiful song, and yet the scene that it's in is a very famous lesbian scene right before a bunch of people get butchered butchered by
Yeah, yeah.
a maniac, a transvestite maniac. But so that's the it's like it's a lot of different things simultaneously, and that's it's to hold in your mind like opposite realities is kind of a good exercise as you're watching these movies.
Josie Cotton is with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio. She's re-released her Invasion of the B-Girls album. The best thing about releasing the album with all the lockdowns and everything else, people can if they can find the movies, that is, binge watch the films from your CD and watch what you're singing about.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find them, I don't know if some of these are findable anymore. I originally found them at a really obscure video store in Los Angeles called Mondo Video, and a lot of those places, I mean, they're all gone. It's all basically online and whatnot. But I don't know if I'd be curious to see if you could actually find some of these movies. She Devils on Wheels, for sure you could find because he became a really famous director. And I don't, and the Godzilla, I'm sure the Goodbye Godzilla. But yeah, it would be a little parlor game to try and find these movies.
You can find some of the trailers to these movies on YouTube. Some of the actual movies have been found there too. Or they might be found at horror conventions if one looks hard. I found some classics lying around or floating on the internet. You can find things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And to discover things and that you didn't know existed, I've discovered a whole genre of B movies. They're more in the horror vein, but not the really bleak stuff that we make here in America. It seems like more than other countries, but the Italian, what they call giallo B movies, a lot of from the 70s, and the music is incredible, and the fashion and the drama and the high uh drama, the like, and like these like killer dolls who are, with knives and just, but so beautifully filmed, but they're all speaking Italian. I haven't found one yet that is in English, and I would so love to know what they're saying. The emotion is all there, the horror, the disturbing imagery, the kookiness of it, and I'm just like, what on earth is happening? Because I'd love to know.
You could just make it up as you go along. I'm sure the
That's
visuals can help you out a bit. Josie, kids today might not know this, and I'm going to sound like an old guy. These kids today, they don't know no from nothing. The sci-fi movies of our time and before then, they didn't have the big laser and animated effects we see in films today. Money wasn't really thrown at them as it is these days, but the imagination guys did the job. They had low budgets and good old-fashioned ingenuity, Josie. A plastic model on a string together with fancy uniforms, a good band of carpenters, wise lighting, and a couple of tricky camera moves. They worked wonders, didn't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, some of those are so. I mean, to me, it's like if it's not funny on some level, it's not really a B movie, and so. But the science fiction angle, that's something I think all the special effects have really hurt science fiction. They've become all about the action and special effects and the weird feeling I would get when I was a little girl in a room watching some flying saucer come down to Earth and take over a family, like while the kid is like just knows that his parents aren't his parents anymore, and just the weird underground science fiction city, aliens walking around. I don't know. It's just something just simpler about seeing those things without all the crazy effects. I mean, mind you, I loved Pacific Rim. I mean, I'm not a snob about this. I did love those special effects, and that is not. I don't have a problem with that, but it's not the same. It's not the same weird, freaky, like feeling that I think kids used to get in adults like me. I never stopped like loving all that.
Well, that's what's made them a lot of fun. And they're probably your precursors to masterpieces like the Kubrick movies and the special effects wizardry you see today, or even some of the comedy stuff like the Orville television series. If it wasn't for the B-movie sci-fi slasher films back then, we might not have had the big budget movies of the same genre today.
Yeah, I mean the other thing that's missing in the big budget movies, though, is the writing. The plot lines are just so just I don't non-existent at times. It's just so repetitive, and I think a lot of the good writers have gone to actual cable television. It seems like they that's where the talent is now. I mean, obviously there are exceptions, and Kubrick was a genius, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really like going to see the big movies so much. Not too much.
Can't blame you. Some of these are a lot of fun. Josie Cotton is with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio. We're talking about the re-release of her album Invasion of the B-Girls. These movies may not have had the greatest budget, but the music, and this is where the album comes in, at least a portion of the music. It's not only fun, but it's excellent as far as quality. Why do you think it wound up that way?
Yeah, it is a funny thing that they would have these great songs. I don't know how that came to be that they would have these really cool songs. But mind you, I went on a really long search. There's a lot of really awful music in these movies too. I watched hundreds of movies, and it was not easy. And I think in trying to do the sequel to it, I've come across a lack of theme songs that I can steal and revamp in my own way. So if anybody out there knows any B movies from any time, actually I've expanded my time zone from the 60s and 70s to any time because there's such a there's such a lack of really great ones. Please, I'm Josie Cotton official on Instagram. Please send me songs from this type of scenario. I would be thrilled.
Challenge accepted. And I'm sure the other people listening are thinking the same thing, Josie. Here's a question for you, and I'm not a big hypotheticals guy, but I wanted to ask this anyway. If you were asked by an enterprising producer who threw some money around on the project to star and sing in a B-movie remake of your choice, what movie and role would you like to do?
Well, that's a great. I've never been asked that question. I'll tell you what movie I wouldn't want to be in a remake of, and that is Eraserhead.
Really? That's one of my favorites, although the soundtrack is probably a little hard to sing.
I mean, I love that movie. It is highly atmospheric, and it scares me, and I've actually never been able to watch it all the way through. It actually scares me, that movie. That baby who I guess was a lamb fetus. I heard it was. There's something about the music that just hangs in the air, and they're staring, and their faces staring with expressionless, and all this demented relationships going on, and I don't know. Maybe it reminds me of my own childhood too much. I'm not sure.
But the music did help tell the story. That I can tell you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Josie Cotton, thank you for coming on with me here on Revenge of the 80s Radio once again. Congratulations on the re-release of Invasion of the B-Girls.
Thank you so much, and it's always a pleasure to talk with you. You always make me laugh.
I love having you on because you make me laugh too. Let's play a track from Invasion of the B-Girls, the newly added one, Female Trouble, from Josie Cotton on Revenge of the 80s Radio.